Situational irony occurs in a story when an anticipated outcome is contradicted. The Interlopers by Saki is about the heads of two quarreling families who become friends. Readers are encouraged to believe that this new friendship would lead the family heads' survival, but it in fact leads to their demise. The Interlopers is a good example of situational irony because the reader thinks that the men's cooperation will increase their chances of survival, but it roots their eternal rest. Nice, man. Let's see here. The only thing I really have about this intro is that you give the situational irony two times. You give it here and you give it in your thesis. It definitely belongs in your thesis, but if you can find a way to summarize more of the story without revealing the ending or talking about expectations here, that would be great. You could kind of extend this sentence, sort of talk about it's about the heads of two quarreling families who meet each other in the woods, period, and then after they uh, have a life-threatening experience, after they share in a life-threatening experience, they become friends, period, and then get to your thesis statement, which says the actual ironic part of the story. The Interlopers is an example of situational irony because the reader and protagonist thinks that the two men's yells together would get the attention of the men, but instead it gets the attention of wolves. Right. So before you actually get to that, though, you need to tell us before you get to this quote. You need to tell us what is going on here. What is the summer? What are the events that occur just before the quote drops? And again, similarly to the first paragraph, you've got some repetitiousness in you've just said what the irony is, but again, you want to save that for the quote and for the explanation. So instead of this sentence, you need to give that short summary of just what's going on just before this quote drops, which is the two men, having reconciled their differences, decide to cooperate to attract the attention of their men. That would be fine. And then you want something along the lines of, you always need some kind of intro phrase, like according to the text, or in the text it says, or something of that nature, in order to let the reader know that you are about to, in fact, use a quote. Are they your men? Are they your men? Are they your men? Asked George. Are they your men? He repeated impatiently as Ulrich did not answer. No, said Ulrich with the idiotic chattering laugh of a man unstrung with hideous fear. Who are they? Asked George quickly, straining his eyes to see what the other would gladly not have seen. Wolves. I think that you can start the quote. You can eliminate this part of the quote. Especially if you specify in your summary that the men begin to hear, or one of the men begins to see figures approaching, right? Then you can skip right to, who are they? Asked George quickly, straining his eyes to see what the other would gladly not have seen. Wolves. This quote illustrates irony because the reader and protagonist expect to be saved because of their newfound friendship, but they end up being eaten by wolves by the wolves that heard their cries for help. Good. One quick nitpicky thing is when you are talking about a quote, you never actually want to use the word quote. And I know that sounds weird, and as I say it, it sounds weird to me too, but it's definitely a rule. It's just kind of developed as like a stylistic rule over the ages. So you just never want to say quote. You want to say, this illustrates situational irony, or perhaps here the text illustrates situational irony. Just avoid that word quote. The Interlopers is an exceptional example of situational irony, since the reader thinks that the teamwork of the two men would cause them to be saved, maybe even make their lives better. But it all ends with their orderly yells for help getting the attention of wolves. The irony in the story helps supplement the theme, which is to focus on real danger instead of petty disputes. Right. By remembering this, the reader can avoid straying from the big picture, unlike the two men. Good. Nice final sentence there. Yeah, this is really, Owen, you have a very nice straightforward style. I really appreciate that. You've got succinct writing. I've made a bunch of comments, but I think, once you make those changes, you should be good to go. Please make sure that you address all of the comments that I've made. I've only written a few of them down, but there are many more that I made verbally speaking. in this video. So please, if you need to rewatch this video once or twice, feel free to do that just to make sure that you get everything. And of course, if you have questions about any of my comments, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to explain it to you. Thank you for your effort on this so far, and I look forward to reading the final draft.